Because consent matters, we just want to let you know that this podcast contains topics that may be triggering to some listeners. For a specific detailing of trigger warnings, please pause the episode and see our show notes. This podcast isn't for everyone, so it's probably for you. Hi, I'm Leandra.
And I'm Anastasia. And this is a show about two best friends and our journey through cult recovery.
Join us as we gain perspective, discover our values, tell some stories, and deconstruct the fucked up belief system from whence we came.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Jesus. We are happy to disappoint. And we're rolling.
Hey, we're rolling.
Now it's radio voice. We were just talking like normal people 1 second ago, and then it's like, and we're back.
You
What's
did
up,
it, and I just
up?
followed
Coastal
right
cities.
behind.
Yeah.
Oh shit! What was that one that always
Coastal
played in the
cities
cafe?
to the heartland.
Come on, I know you know it.
Oh, 94.7 the way. And I love it. Ooh, a little vocal run. Woo!
That's every time. Every time they did that.
Well, no, they had different artists sing it, and like,
and they would all put their own spin on it, and it was always like.
And so it's like you'd be like grooving to their transition tunes, which there was always these little transition tunes, and you're like, am I listening to the song right now? Is this the next song? And then it's like, gotcha. And then you'd hear an artist be like, 94.7 the way. And you're like, yeah, whoa. And then like those, like always, it was amazing. Like it was always a little surprise each time.
No, I was like,
when you'd hear like Rod Stewart randomly pop on though, or like, and then you'd get like, sometimes you'd get ear butter, aka Seal. And like,
yeah. But like mornings in the cafe, I was never so lucky. I'll just say that.
No. It was always, oh man, okay. Oh, mornings in the cafe. Ooh,
welcome.
This is a very specific smell that is coming to mind right now.
Some nice old steamed eggs, everybody.
Steamed eggs. Oh God, that horrible sound. Like it was like steaming eggs is a fine way, I suppose, to cook your eggs if you're in a hurry. It definitely made them a specific texture. They were wet eggs. They were very wet eggs. Great band, by the way, Wet Egg. Wet Leg.
Oh.
No, Wet Leg.
That's Wet Leg. No.
It's the end of a very long work week. Like,
oh yeah,
like,
it is.
Go us.
We just got right in there with the wave.
That we're here at all and have anything to talk about right now at this juncture and state of brain.
State of
it's
brain.
It's a bit of a miracle.
Indeed. Yeah.
Speaking of state of brain, how are you doing, Stasia? This episode is kind of going to be a little bit pointed at you or about you, and like, God forbid something be about you, Anastasia. As everyone in your life,
that's what I always heard.
Like
now,
to tell
that's
you,
what I always heard.
I know.
You nailed it.
I know. How very dare you make this your existence about you, Anastasia, and now your podcast where you are allowed to talk as long as you want about whatever you want. Like, yeah, we do prompts and outlines and stuff, but like, also, this is a podcast where we get to talk about whatever we want. And what we want to talk about is, hey, what happened?
Hey, what happened is actually...
What happened?
Hey, what happened? Oh, Fred Willard.
A lot.
Love you.
Oh, rip Fred Willard, king.
Love you, Fred.
Stasia, tell us what you want us to hear. What do you want the people to know? What do you want to what do you want to start out the gate saying? Because, like, we have, like, yeah, our guest today is my best friend and co-host, Anastasia. She is an absolute genius. She is one of the funniest people I've ever met. She is a singer that will knock your pants out your butt. And then
you're way too good of a hype man.
I'm just getting started. I could keep going. Should I keep listing things, audience? I can keep listing
I'm already
things.
kind of sweating, actually.
She's a
There's
barber.
too much attention on me.
She's a hairstylist. She's a former cult princess, and she's here to tell you
that is true.
all about,
ladies and gentlemen,
that.
Yeah.
More on that right now.
More on that actively. Yeah. That's
Go.
Thank you. That was such a nice introduction. Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of here to give some context, kind of like you did last week, a little bit of like where you were at 2018, before that even, all of it, because it's been since birth for both of us, so
since birth for both of us.
Yeah, so there's a lot there. So it's kind of hard to know where to start. I guess I will start with the obvious of born in a cult, but to parents who were also basically born in, they were adolescents.
They were teens,
like teenagers, when
babies.
They came in. Both grandparents were bringing my parents in. So, well, actually, I guess that's technically not true. Carol, on my mom's side, she was a follower of John, but my grandpa was not his biggest fan, from what I have heard. So, the lore for me, and why Carol specifically was such a huge part of my life, even though she did pass when I was 12, is that I was to carry on her legacy.
Specifically as an intercessor, quote unquote, and as a singer and psalmist, Psalmist.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Before we dive, I'm going to walk talk us.
Please. Yes.
A psalm in the context of our cult was when a person was, quote, divinely moved or moved by the Spirit to sing an impromptu made-up song on the spot.
Yes.
So, like, if you could think of a song musical on the prophecy spot, yeah, it was like, and that's a really good way to put it. But again, I was trying to not be self-referential immediately.
No, that's why I let her, like, that is all correct. But if you were part of the church, you will recognize it also as a sung prophecy.
And like, that was like, put yourself in one of these church services and you're like, what's going on here? All these people are singing gibberish all at once. And then suddenly the gibberish comes to a hush and you see someone step out on stage, and sometimes you'd get a nice little impromptu song, and sometimes it would be something else. It would be very intense, and it would be a lot. And sometimes you'd be crying, and sometimes you'd be crying. Like, again, everyone, like, that was something that, okay, I'm being pointy and silly about it, but, like, I remember getting shit on. But Carol was the shining gold example for what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to make the service feel when you get up on stage and sing a quote unquote inspired psalm. Like, that's what, and again, like, that's what that's the term they chose, it's from the Bible. It's a book in the Bible, but it's the songs that David and his ilk wrote to God
Yeah.
specifically. Love
Yeah.
letters to God that were songs.
See
Anyway,
book
here's
of.
Wonderwall. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was her ministry.
Mm-hmm.
To use another walk talk word. But then that was also supposed to be mine. And I do love music and I do love singing very much, and I have always loved that. But the way they wanted me to do it, I wanted nothing to do with since I was little, and I knew that, and it felt gross the whole time. But I wasn't allowed to say that. Anyway, I digress.
But
So
like, how was the way they wanted you to do it? Say a little more on that. Like, how did you? Yeah.
It's hard because the only way I know how to describe it is the ways that they were telling me I was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. No one makes it clear. Okay. You too, huh?
Yeah. So like they would just tell me if I had a good or bad spirit. And I was like,
Yup.
well, then I don't know what the fuck you want, because I feel like I'm coming in here with a good spirit every fucking week. And I feel just as fucking broken as the rest of these people around me, because
Yeah.
you keep telling me that I'm not doing it right because I'm not being Carol enough. What the fuck does that mean?
Huh.
Anyway, so
Big yuck.
I am getting a little bit ahead of myself because I wanted to say too that Carol brought Marilyn into the church.
Ding 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 ding
So
ding
not
ding ding ding
only
ding ding.
was she a huge like intercessor and like follower and transcriber and all of these things about John's word, she also brought Marilyn into the church. So,
And her 2 kids.
and her 2 kids, Uncle Icky and his sister. So, I felt like that was also something I needed to somehow live up to. I always felt like because of who my grandma was, that meant that now I was Uncle Icky's.
Yeah. She was one of his old ladies.
Carol was, well, they had a relationship that I will never understand.
I think
And
through
it was
music to some
very,
degree.
yeah, it was very musical because they would write worship songs together all the time. Or it happened more than once, and I know that was a big connection for them, I should say.
Yeah.
But because I was Carol's and I was officially, since I was born, Marilyn's, because Marilyn named me, or at least that is the story that I have been told. So I was pretty much Marilyn's girl, Carol's girl, and thus Uncle Icky's girl.
Boof.
So this is where I felt like there was a level of cult princess about my life, because I recognized very young that our parents aside, my parents and your parents and their differences aside, we got treated very differently from a young age.
In a big way.
Yeah. And I think the Carol of it all kind of is where that starts. So I think that's why I started there, because people around the world knew who I was because
they
I
knew
was
who she
Carol's
was.
granddaughter.
Yep.
And I had other grandparents in the church, and yes, sometimes they would be like, "Oh, you're this kid," but then most of the time it was, "Oh, you're Carol's granddaughter."
Do you sing too?
And then I was like, yeah. When I was little, I was like, I do. Like, how amazing is that? And my mom sings. And my mom also is working for the church, and I'm working for the church, and maybe that I'm exactly what I'm supposed to be and where I'm supposed to be and carrying on this amazing legacy. And then the other 90% of the time, it was I felt the cold, dead weight of expectations I would never meet.
Oof.
And disappointments that I would always be.
Very on
Wow, I didn't know that was in there.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's some big shit. That's some heavy shit.
And that like some obviously I didn't feel that when I was like itty bitty, but on some level I did. When they talked about the mantle, and they talked about the ministry, and they talked about how important she was and the things that she did, and who she was to people, and how the lives that she touched,
and how she made people feel. Like, it was all about how she made people feel with her gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And her gifts were at the disposal and beck and call of Uncle Icky and his mommy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God. I just remembered. Oh, Anastasia. I just remembered a time where I was getting really heavy of the be Carolness, and I was in my first year of YASP. And as I was growing up, it was getting harder, obviously. So like as I got older, the pressure became heavier.
Gotcha.
To continually emulate Carol. So when I was about 13 and in YASP for the first time, I was really feeling it, because then I was in Shiloh and everyone was like, "You're Carol's granddaughter."
Yeah.
And I was like, literally everyone in the world knows me. What the fuck is that?
That's a weird feeling at its peak.
Well, I guess I was thinking about shows too, because then on the shows and the service
on
days,
the show nights, then
everyone would be like,
the whole town would come see the fireworks because it's the only fireworks show for 100 miles or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like,
yeah. I always told, well, this is Uncle Icky's hubris maybe, but I was always told that, Anastasia, you're going to sing for thousands of people, and that you sang for thousands of people. So like, I don't know, maybe that's not true, but that's what I was told.
They had ticket count, like they had car counters, and it like they would count people in the cars, and I think I think at peak at one point, like the bowl and the backfilling of the amphitheater bowl was like 4,000 people.
Yeah.
At its peak.
Okay. Yeah. And so then like a fourth of those people almost are staying in Shiloh and know me.
Well, when you put it that way, yeah, they're all staying in the building, like 2 dormitory rooms down that you're sharing with 5 to 12 to 15 other people. Yeah. I think the most people I had in a room was 15 one time. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, okay, so this is the sweet poor baby Anastasia part. So I was feeling like I wanted to be more connected to Carol because I was being told that I needed to be. So I got up on stage and I sang my first, like, made up on the spot psalm. And it felt great because I thought I was doing it right. So I was in there with my YASP dorm leader, and I was like, I'm gonna do that all the time, just like my grandma. Like, I'm never gonna just prophesy again. I'm gonna sing a psalm every single time. And she said, I don't think you should do that.
Oh my God. Oh my god! What the hell?
Oh my god.
That's
It's so anyway.
oh fuck. Dude, I get it. I understand the manic laughter right now. Like,
I just
what the
that was a recovered
fuck?
memory as I
Yeah.
was talking about
I
Carol
didn't
and
know
Tom.
that story.
Oh, I forgot about it.
I don't think you should do that.
Off mic. Off mic.
Off mic.
Yeah. Yeah. So that came home with me too.
Dude, you've carried that for so long. That person said that to you, and that's lived in your head the whole time because you never liked going up there on the spot ever again. I couldn't drag you up there. I was like, dude, your voice is amazing. I am annoying and a flying monkey. Please come sing on stage so that I'm not trying to do this alone, question mark?
Not alone. Yeah.
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 Because it wasn't just like going up there alone. It's like it was a whole process. Like you had to get approval. You had to lock eyes with the worship leader and be like, you express interest. And then there's a system of hierarchy where the worship leader turns around and looks to someone else to find out, am I allowed to come on stage? And most of the time it would be like, yeah, we're going to the bridge and scene. And it's over. And everyone be quiet and you go sit down. Or they just move on.
Yeah. Or they just ignore you.
Yeah, or the thing would be like, all right, no, sorry, the chord progression changed. Your song doesn't work anymore. The song you made up on the spot, it's no longer the song we're singing. And in fact, we're singing the most different song and you can't make up a new song on the spot. That's how much we don't want you to sing.
Dude.
Oh,
yeah.
dude, the gatekeeping was
for real.
That's what that was. It was heavy gatekeeping. And like, I love how much, again, okay, this is me going a little off the rails, but just how much like everyone was like, no, everyone was chill to do whatever they wanted. Everyone could make whatever decisions they wanted. And it's like, dude, if somebody stormed on stage to sing if somebody just walked on stage to sing without permission and I witnessed it, my whole body went cold. I was like, they're gonna get taken out back and fucking
shot.
Yeah, I was like, oh, we lost one tonight. Like, and like this is metaphorical, but or hyperbole and silly. Yeah, but like for sure. Also, they wouldn't be allowed on stage.
They would not be allowed on stage
for years again. If
your psalm didn't hit,
if you disturbed the quiet order of things and your psalm didn't hit, you're toast. Like, good luck getting back up on that stage and expressing yourself and your love to God, because they're shutting that shit down quick. Like, they will drive this sanctuary off a cliff before they let you back on stage. Oh man.
Yeah.
So and then they'd be like, why don't people express themselves?
I keep looking at you over here and then staring off into what I am perceiving as the middle distance, but what is actually my camera. And so I feel like I've been doing a lot of like take to cameras, and I'm
she's like, and anyway, talking about the worship. So we're talking about psalms and worship and the hierarchy and the structure and the questions, and like we talked about in our last episode how, again, hearsay, but like a teacher got fired and the real reason they got fired was because they didn't agree with Uncle Icky. And like your grandma knew how it worked.
Yeah.
Your grandma and your grandma would disagree with Uncle Icky, and that's why he'd be like, now go elsewhere now. and then would bring her back and make it a big deal. And
Yeah.
it was.
Because I think even her health did decline in my lifetime very quickly. So I don't remember everything, but I do remember when I was young, though, when Uncle Icky would kind of use it over, not use it, but use it, hold it against me that Carol had worked at TLW and that I should also always be working at TLW. He would always imply that is the best thing to do. That was always very well, when you work here someday.
Oh,
it was like that.
He did do that. He did do that. He did that. He did that. I'm remembering now. Because when I was serious, I'd be like, hire me. And he'd be like, we don't have a budget for that right now.
No, it was when we were kids.
It was when we were children. And, well, when you work here someday, when you come work for me at the studio, when you work in the building, when you work at TLW as a word worker.
Yep.
This is
prologue.
Yeah, this is all just setting the scene.
Yeah.
For Stasia's existence.
So then I exist. Boom.
Surprise.
And then I am always at TLW because my mom works there. So out the gate, always at TLW. Right. And so I have this in my notes. I was birth to 15 years old. I basically only went to school, church properties, mostly TLW, or church friends' houses. 16 through 19, the same, but I could drive there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was my whole big world. And whole big little world. And
whole big little world bubble.
I don't know how, I guess this is kind of the easiest way to transition into this, but speaking of Uncle Icky, I would like to personally do a shout out right now to Bo Brown, who was on...
Yeah, Bo Brown!
Who was on Oops, I'm in a Cult.
Yes.
And he was awesome enough to tell his story about going to the cult school. And I learned a lot of things about my life from that episode.
Yeah, firsthand, this is the first we were understanding and hearing of, at least for your life, that level of meddling.
That level of control.
Heavy meddling.
Heavy meddling. So, if you haven't heard that episode, Bo talks about how it was really hard to have a high school girlfriend who was in the cult. And that may or may not have been me. And he told a story about how the principal of the school and other assorted pastors brought him to the church on more than one occasion and sat him down and talked to him about his relationship with me. First of all, I fucking knew nothing about this.
Yeah.
I did not know that happened until he said it on the podcast.
Crazy.
And all of those people were direct reporters to Uncle Icky.
Yeah. Also, didn't he say that Marilyn took him aside and was like, ooh, aren't you special? And it was super uncomfortable. And you can go to his episode on Oops, I'm in a Cult and check that out. Bo Brown.
Yep. Do definitely check out that episode if you haven't heard it. But now contextualizing all of this, Marilyn absolutely knew he was with me.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
At one point or another. Absolutely knew. And was aware of who he was. And so a couple years after we had already broken up because they were meddling so fucking hard and he didn't know what to do.
Yep.
When he was in the episode and he was like, "Yeah, I might have lied to her about that." I was like, I knew you were
He had
lying,
to.
but I didn't know why, and that healed me. Not because of any other reason, but because I knew that wasn't it. I knew there was something else going on in my gut. You didn't have a dream. You didn't just have a dream and then tell me. Come on.
That's really funny. I forgot that was the lie. I was like, what was the lie?
Yeah. I'm like, hey, I bought it enough.
Because we were in a cult and we were like, oh yeah,
naive.
That totally happens. If God told you in a dream
if God
that you
told you in a dream, I
have
to believe it.
Yeah, I gotta. Even if it doesn't feel right, I gotta believe it. Because God said.
Yep.
Ooh, Bo Brown, you a real one, my guy.
I know you kept me anonymous, but I am now no longer keeping you anonymous. Sorry, I guess. But shout out,
whatever.
Thank you to because that meant something.
You're outing yourself.
I'm outing myself. I learned about a part of my life that I didn't understand was being so fucking heavily manipulated and looked into. I was a small teen.
Yeah, you were young. You were real young.
Icky was looking into
Keeping tabs. Yeah.
So, cult princessness. I know that I got it a lot easier than a lot of people, but I also have been realizing more and more that it was just more hidden.
It was just more veiled. They had to do it in a different way, and they had to keep you in the dark about how they were doing it, because if you caught up, like if you had known that they were talking to your attempted, like your person you were dating, and like again, yeah, you were kids, but at the same time, like that's a beautiful thing that you get to work out together, you know?
Exactly. Let us figure it out.
That a fucking 46-year-old man who has a wife and child that you babysat should be paying attention to.
It wasn't just paying attention, it was heavy meddling.
It was heavy meddling.
In the lives of teens and preteens.
Teens and preteens. Oh God. And then me in my actual 20s, like he heavy meddled in my relationships too. And like, I mention it in the letters we read, but it was like, he told my dad one thing and he told my mom a completely separate other thing. And then it set them against each other. I heard him tell them. I don't think he realized that I heard him say both things. And I was like, okay. And I don't think I realized it until much later when my mom was like, oh, Uncle Icky told me this. And then my dad was like, I'll die before fucking you do something that's not what Uncle Icky said. And I'm like, don't you hate him? Like,
I don't even have time.
Yeah. I know. We don't even have time. But like, that was the just examples of the kind of shit that he was actively doing, and it wasn't just you, and it wasn't just me.
Yeah, correct.
Like, we're just among
and with
many.
You were aware. I mean, you were in your 20s, and your parents were aware. I don't think he included my parents at all.
And in fact,
I'm pretty sure he did not.
He just wanted to keep tabs on the blonde child.
Yeah. On Carol's
granddaughter.
On Carol's granddaughter. I just always have to make sure I look out for you, Anastasia, because you're Carol's granddaughter.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're Carol's Carol, it's a hard thing to talk about, especially like ancestors in the cult or parents in the cult, because we love our families, and And at the same time, this horrible thing affected our lives and affects their lives too, whether they want to admit it or not.
Ding, 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 ding,
Like,
ding, ding, ding.
And if they admit it, then to what degree do you acknowledge? And I'm not shaming here. It's a thing, though, of like, there are
that is
levels
human
of
beings.
recognition.
What can your brain at this point accept?
Handle.
Because how much have you either repressed or ignored, or how many years worth of shit is all gonna come back once you maybe agree with one thing that you didn't before.
Exactly. Exactly. And we keep saying it, and we'll keep saying it on this podcast of like, it's really, if you believe one hard truth, many more hard truths often follow. And like, they're not going anywhere. They're just part of the reality that we exist in. Like, at least like my experience was my experience and your experience was your experience. But like, just because you don't know that it's manipulation doesn't mean it's not manipulation.
Doesn't mean you weren't manipulated.
That's what I'm saying.
Repeatedly, yes, I agree.
If we were manipulated, our parents and their parents were also manipulated. This is not a roast. This is not all negative. It's just acknowledging that the expectations set and the environment in which those expectations were determined and then communicated was very, very difficult and sticky. And like, how were you supposed to know who you were allowed to be when you had the shadow? Like, you lived in your grandma's shadow a little bit, and
my mom's shadow to a lesser degree, but
that's what I was gonna say. I was like, you lived.
My mom lived in Carol's shadow. I lived in Carol's shadow, and I also lived in my mom's shadow.
Yeah, you came from a family of movers and shakers within the community there, and which is the cult princess element of it. Oh, I wanted to not forget this point, but you talked about how Carol was bought in and was very dedicated to the cult, whereas, again, she didn't view it as a cult. She viewed it as her life's work in a church and a community and a leader and a man of God and something that she could follow. And like, cool. Okay. Her husband didn't agree with her about that. He was like, I don't think this is great. And he wasn't around. He didn't come and like saying it in that way, I get a little triggered. I'm like, oh yeah, he's not around, quote unquote. Like he wouldn't, that means you're not attending services, or you're not dedicated, or you're not working or buying in or adulating some pastor. But like, I had your grandmother used against me, your grandmother and your grandfather used against me as a cautionary tale when I was dating someone outside the church, and I had beep, 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 boop take me aside and be like, well, even some of our most powerful intercessors, even some of our most revered worshipers had things that they were tied down by and held back by. And like, even Carol, she was held back by her husband, who wasn't dedicated. So you don't want to end up like that. It was a thorn in her side her whole life. It made her so sad. So you don't want to be like that. You should break up with this person while you still have a chance, before it's too late. You don't want to end up like Carol. And I was like, haven't you been telling me I should be like Carol?
Manipulative, yeah.
I know. What the fuck? Like,
and like, my grandpa was my best friend.
Yeah.
I felt so accepted by that man. He just let me be.
He just let you be a kid.
Wanted me to learn how to read and play. And so he would play Hercules and Xena with me in the backyard because I loved seeing a warrior princess on TV. And like,
No.
he would put on tea parties for me in the back of his truck, and like hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just so much fucking rage because, like, just because he fucking knew better. Just because he fucking saw through your bullshit.
Yeah,
And
just
now you
because
want
he
to
didn't kiss
use it against
ass.
Leandra with Carol.
Yeah, she was like, I know you want to be an intercessor. I know you want to be a worshiper. I know you want to be a prophet. I know you want to contribute. But you'll always be less than. Even Carol was less than. Like, it's like, what?
Unreal.
I was like, wasn't she a saint? Like, isn't she like, we don't do saints here, but we actually do because I know the names of all of these old people who loved John or Uncle Icky or Marilyn, you know?
But didn't we?
But didn't we?
We didn't do saints.
Actually,
But didn't
we did. We called it the cloud of witnesses. Trigger term.
Whoa! I haven't heard that in a while. Holy shit.
I hadn't thought about it until this moment when I was like, what did we call the people again? The people who died that they were like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay that he died. He's part of the cloud of witnesses now.
I remembered. I remembered wrenching the veil.
Rending the veil.
Oh, rending the veil. I thought it was like wrenching it apart. Again, little kid ears.
That is
I didn't
the term.
know.
Yeah, you got the idea right. Wrenching, but rending. Yeah, it's tearing, like ripping the veil, tearing the veil between life and death. And they were like, yeah, we're rending the veil. I'm like,
Dude, I remember that because I remember knowing my grandma was on the other side of the veil.
Mm-hmm.
Wondering if my grandfather was.
Oof. Yeah, because that's the thing. It was like only special prayer warriors get to be part of. And then it's like, well, actually, it's all the church invisible is what they called it too. They're like, well, there's the cloud of witnesses, and then there's like the church invisible, and everybody's special, but like there's these real special people who did a lot of shit or gave a lot of shit or believed a lot of shit for this cult.
And I remember thinking, if I worship hard enough, maybe I will see them again.
Yowza. You got me with that one. Woo.
Sorry.
No, same though. Like that feeling of like, if I sing with all my heart, if I give all my heart in this moment and every moment that I can, if I give everything I am with this song, maybe God will hear me. Maybe Carol will hear me. Maybe I'll be good enough. Maybe I'll see them. Maybe they'll like take some time out of their day and come slip through the veil and come like hang out or some shit.
Tell me I'm doing good because all these other people are telling me I'm not, and I really thought I was doing pretty good.
A word that like also comes to mind with Carol, and I know we've said it earlier, but like intercessor. This is a term that they kind of explained on Oops, I'm in a Cult a little bit, but that is a word that Uncle Icky would use for like sex was an act of intercession.
Gary said the same thing.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Gary said it too. Oh, on that video. Yeah. Oh, Gary.
Has a whole different meaning to Mom and I.
Mom and I have spent all week in intercession.
Going at it in intercession.
Okay, first of all, yuck. Like,
sorry.
I just no, that was beautiful. I'm just like, I can't. I'm like, again, like Mike doesn't picture anything when he closes his eyes, and I have the opposite problem of that, and I'm like, ah! I just see flappy folds, and I need to cut out.
Cut.
And scene.
And scene.
So yeah, that would be a way that they would like predatorize. That's what pastors had been using to seduce young women since the John days. Like, I know people who heard it from pastors, from John appointed pastors.
Yep.
Oh, like,
about
we
sex
really
and
need
interceding.
to like, well, using sex as a holy, sacred act, and like, oh, God wants this, and God will hear us louder if we're doing it this way. And like, I guess that's an interesting marketing ploy to like try and snag views from God.
Just because you have watched Ann porn and seen Ann woman or man go, oh God, oh Jesus, oh God. That does not mean
they're not actually talking to Jesus.
That's
like,
not prayer.
Did no one tell him that? Did no one tell them that?
I thought maybe I might in the afterlife.
No one told all those predators that?
If he heard me, yeah.
Yeah. God. And we have to feel, and you have to feel shame because you're too pretty and boys pay attention to you, so you have to feel shame.
Marilyn perceives something in your spirit.
Yeah. Marilyn slut shamer detects a slut child. And she is going to make sure that slut child suffers. And everyone's going to know that child is particularly slutty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, no, that's just men paying attention to a child and sexualizing a child in an environment where that child should not have been exposed to those men in that context? Oh. Okay.
Oh, we know that now.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, I feel like we went off the rails, but I'm not mad at it.
We went way off the rails, but I feel like we got our mojo.
Hell yeah. And I mean, so I guess it's kind of
like,
almost.
No, yeah. We're there.
Nicely to my nextly, but like I was
nicely to the nextly.
We were talking.
Slutty child. Very slutty sexy child. Baby.
Very sexy. I'm a very sexy baby.
Thank you, 30 Rock.
What I was going to say about it's a circle, full circle, is Bo meeting Marilyn.
Yeah.
And what transpired there, and her being weird and fucking handsy and shit with him.
She was handsy with everybody. Sorry, Bo. At least you didn't have tits. She would have touched them.
And she, even though he does not, she probably still tried.
So, like, thanks, Carol, for bringing... Here's the thing. Carol, I don't think was doing anything wrong when she saw a struggling young woman and her two darling children, and she
brought them to
brought her to a church meeting. I think it was, I think at the Women's Center or the Women's YMCA or something. They would have church meetings at the Women's Center for some reason. I think it's because, like, that's where they'd let John use that space.
That makes,
also,
I guess, why or something.
I think I like to think it was slightly more nefarious. But that's just me speculating. So, okay. So basically, like, we've been chatting all over the map and, like, jumping rails and, you know, keeping things real tight and formatted for all you wonderful listeners. But basically, we've established that you were born and stayed in and around the area of all of the buildings of the cult establishment, the church itself, the publication / editing / studio / accounting office / Christmas truck house / apparently like Broadway training
Style.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Broadway dancing studio where, yeah. So you were there all the
Fireworks
time.
show mastering studio.
Yeah.
Video production
Fireworks,
house.
video editing production house. Like it was a weird shipping
Cataloging,
house,
transcribing,
duplication.
editing, duplication.
These were all the departments.
I've done every single one of those things that we've said, and so has she probably.
Yes. And gotten kicked out of, and then and then asked to help again. Because no one would do it. So yeah, everyone in your family had some stake in this institution, or was, like there was history, there was lore, there was hearsay, and then there was say. And now that we have said, you are basically, last we left off, you were talking about how you had your relationship, your high school boyfriend got heavy metaled with, and you also got shut down and told to, maybe you shouldn't sing when you feel like singing by a rude human.
Be your grandma, but don't be your grandma.
Be your grandmother, but don't you dare be your grandmother. And I don't think you should do that. So yeah, you had your passions shut down, or at least you were taught that the church was not somewhere your passions could be expressed. So where did that leave Stasia, and where did that take Stasia?
I think what I should say instead of passions is maybe authenticity.
Real,
because it wasn't just about the things that I loved. It was about who I was
and who you were. Yeah, exactly.
Shut down.
Well said.
My outgoingness was shut down. My whole it felt to me like there was no acceptable part of my personality unless I was specifically pleasing somebody.
Yeah.
And that could be hits. The pastor, that could be Uncle Icky, that could be the Beep Boops, that could be Marilyn, that could be literally anybody who had their eye on me, my principal, my teachers, anybody who had their eye on me. And so many people did. And I didn't think about it this way at the time, but looking back, I think I might have felt a little bit like I had to. It is very much masking, but it was being a chameleon, just being affable.
Yeah.
I couldn't be too outgoing, because if I started a conversation or if I was doing anything, then that was on me and it's your fault. And you shouldn't be flirting with the boys.
The requirement to be affable is a really good way to put that, because it wasn't like you couldn't be flirty, you couldn't be earnest, you couldn't be honest, and you couldn't be too kind. So you had to just be,
lest you be dubbed, or lest you be labeled a flirt or tart or Jezebel spirit.
If you didn't respond enough, or if you responded not positively enough, you'd be labeled frigid.
Yep.
Or closed off. We had some people submit your spirit is closed off. Oh yeah, that just means that you're not willing to you're not super into being exploited.
Because usually what it was meant as is, why are you so closed off to this human trying to tell you what to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Whether that be a teacher or a pastor or whatever, or their advances. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, I didn't feel like it was just my passions being
that
shit
makes
on.
so
I
much
felt like
sense, dude.
It was every single part of me, because I think I've told this story before, but maybe not on the podcast, but I was labeled a flirt before, well, way before I knew what it was. But like,
If I
dude, I
recall
was like
correctly, by
3
your
to
grandma.
5. Yeah, it was definitely at her house. And I was so excited to go talk to this person that I knew that was helping her out.
Friend,
My
yeah.
friend who was over there, who was like fucking 35, and I was literally 5. I don't know, maybe he was in his 20s. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I didn't have any concept of that. I was knee high.
Yeah. Yeah, good context there. Good visual. Jesus.
That's exactly how I am seeing this circumstance.
That's the perspective. Yeah.
That is the perspective of the memory that I am having have. Like, but yeah. And then I was so shamed for, you should not have gone over and flirted with that boy. What?
Yeah,
What's
like
that?
what? What do you mean?
What did I do wrong?
I had a
Going
conversation
over
where
and loving this person that our family loves.
yeah, what the fuck?
What did I do wrong? So it's like my feelings were the problem. Like everything about me was the problem, is what it felt like to me.
You were not,
So,
yeah. You were not allowed to feel the way you felt. How dare you feel the way you felt? And
yeah,
let me tell you what you're feeling, by the way. It's this, and you're like, what is that? I don't even know what that is, and you're telling me that's what I'm feeling?
Yes!
What?
My whole life.
Yeah.
My whole childhood. That is my whole childhood in a nutshell.
Help, I'm in a nutshell.
So yeah. Anyway, what was your question?
No, it's fine. You're doing great. No, so we really are like, yeah, we established like you found out that you couldn't express yourself in this environment and you were going to be told that you were a certain way in this environment and perceived a certain way. You said, I want to point out something you said. You said people who had their eye on me. Lots of people had their eyes on me. And boy, didn't they. And how uncomfortable you felt. And like, again, like a lot of people having their eyes on you and then you being told, you acting the way your family acts towards a person is you flirting.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so what do you do with real affection?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with that, you know? And so like little sexy baby Stasia got sexualized super early. And again, like I think we've my husband put it this way. He was like, potential got perceived way too early.
Yeah.
Potential started getting recognized way too early for things that people should not have been perceiving that. Like not a wholesome community, not a wholesome space to be growing up as a little sexy baby. So
P.S. Gary saying in that video on Oops that children think about sex as early as 5. Who do you think took the fucking brunt of that? Children like us.
When he said that and I heard him say that, it was like, I didn't realize how big of a piece of the puzzle that was.
Me too.
For me personally, and how I was treated and how I perceived you being treated. Yeah. I didn't understand. I was like, where is this coming from? Adults are the ones talking to me this way. why is it on me? Like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know. I have no frame of reference. I have no context for what that could possibly mean. I just know I have this phrase in my head for the rest of my life.
I just have this loud, shitty voice in my head for the rest of my life that I have to fight with as an adult.
That sneaks up on me while I'm at the grocery store.
Fuck. I still didn't let you finish your sentence.
Well, no, I'm not letting you finish sentences either. We're just like, but like, no. So the cannon, we've described the cannon that was built to launch Stasia, the cannonball, into the world, into the atmosphere, and into the stratosphere. And like,
well put.
This cannon was wild, and this cannon was dangerous.
Built incorrectly.
It's like that story where like the Spanish were sieging like a Mesoamerican culture. I can't remember which one. These Spaniards, like, nobody had the plans to a trebuchet, but they were like, we know what a trebuchet looks like. So they built a trebuchet to like help them in this siege against this city, and they built it and it just fired straight up, and the projectile came down and destroyed. It went directly up and came immediately back down and destroyed the trebuchet itself.
You know what? I would love to be that.
Like, so the cannonball was shot directly into the air, and then Stasia,
let me come back down and rain fire on the shitty mechanics.
From getting launched out of the cannon, let's say you graduating high school, you get launched out of the cannon and into the world, or like it's late high school and you're a teenager, and then to the cannon getting hit by the cannonball, or the trebuchet getting hit by the projectile from directly above it. In 2018.
Yeah.
So like, let's use this loose, terrible metaphor for this timeline because we're just rolling with it.
I'm down to roll with it. Fuck it. We both took that metaphor differently, and it's fine. We can cut whatever we want. It's our podcast. But
I don't think we did. Like, I think you did come barreling down and help destroy the situation because you helped get me out of it. Like,
thank you. I didn't think of myself at all that way. I just thought of myself as being fucking over it. Yeah, okay, good question. So, first of all, let me say, in high school, but it is, because how did I get from high school to 2018? Like, there's so much that happened, but let me start by saying my specific class, in centers of learning was mostly not church kids. It was mostly neighborhood kids. So that was a huge gift to Anastasia that she didn't realize that she had, because I started asking questions because they were asking me questions
that you couldn't answer.
That I was like, I don't know, I just go here. I don't know, I just go here. And I was told that this is the most important thing that has ever happened in the world.
Yeah.
What do you want?
What do you mean this isn't the most important thing that's ever happened in the world?
First of all, what do you mean this isn't?
Yeah.
That was like 15th, because I cannot compute, actually, if we're being honest. If we think about the legacy I just talked about, cannot even compute that it is not the most important thing in the world. Actually.
Oh, that took years. Yeah.
That took a really long time. I got there in college. But that helped me. Having that class helped me because they were asking questions and I loved them. And I was supposed to love everybody. And they were supposed to, because they were in my community, love me just as much.
We did make that assumption. We did make that weird assumption a lot because everyone loved very overtly in the cult. And we were like, well, we're supposed to love everyone. And we assumed that everyone loves us too. And so we were just like way overtly affectionate and loving. And like, I'd be like, we're best friends now. And people would be like, excuse me, can you step off a little bit? Like, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot right now.
For real. So,
yeah.
So I had that a little bit as a launching point. So when I graduated, I went into CSUN and I got my first college boyfriend, and I still technically actually met him at the church, by the way,
Yeah.
because God damn. I met him at the church because he was in an a cappella group that wanted a place to perform, and they had an in with a worship leader that had taught at a different school. And so because of that, they came to perform at the Church of the Living Word, and I worked the cafe during the
We're
performance.
back to the cafe.
We're back to the cafe. We started
the wet eggs.
The wet eggs. The little thermometers.
And that like $6,000 espresso machine.
Which like
that's a whole business. That espresso machine is somebody's whole business.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh, I was in the cafe and I met my first boyfriend who was performing in an a cappella group. Wouldn't you be amazed that this one hit me out of nowhere? He ended up being gay. But that led me to many...
Okay, Liz Lemon.
I Liz Lemon so hard. I Liz Lemon so hard out of high school. But what I did with it that you might not have is gone to all of the cool college parties. Again, a cappella group parties.
Dude,
this is where I was like, is this the sin and treachery that I have been told exists out in the world? Because this isn't as bad as a rain party.
Holy shit dickers.
So that's kind of when that was like a crack.
This isn't as bad as a rain party. Was you at a college party? And like, can I absolutely affirm that like I had a similar experience with, like, you said that and it unlocked my brain of like, oh yeah, in my 20s, like after the cult kind of wound down, I was like, I'm going to house parties and I'm doing shady shit. And I would go to these house parties and I'd be like, the only thing that's different here is that everyone is upfront about wanting to fuck each other.
Can you say that a little louder for the people in the back? Holy
The only thing different, the only difference between like a raging Ray and rager and a regular rager is that you didn't have to be sneaky about your intentions, and people were upfront about their intentions and what they were there for, and that they were, and like also it was upfront about people being like, yeah, I'm drinking because I had a bad day and I'm sad. Not we drink because it's communion, and then it also lets everybody have like a little mind eraser and like, ooh, maybe this happened, maybe it didn't. Everyone was drinking, including the children. Like,
So the reason I said that was mostly because I could outdrink everybody there. And I had just gotten to college.
Yep. That was one. Yep. I did being the teen who could outdrink the adults was a point of pride for me at one point. Oof.
And it was also, this is a little bit side notey, but it was like a known thing that like part of my side of the family was like good drinkers in the church. So like it was like people would hand me things and say,
It was your it was a
"You're
legacy.
this is your legacy, your last name. You can take it. You're a last name.
Yeah,
Last
you're
names
from
can.
this family.
I'm a last name.
I'm a last name.
I'm a last name, Anastasia last name, and you're a last name. You can take this.
All last names are
All
good
last
drinkers.
names can handle
Can
their
hold
liquor.
their liquor. Yeah.
So that's where I was out of high school. I was figuring out that I could drink better than all of my older college friends. Yeah, older peers. All that to say, that was part of the cracks. I was like, what is that? And so then I had a friend, and she was such a good friend, and she was in an awful accident, and then I didn't have that friend anymore, and then I had to come back to the church because I didn't have anybody. And then another thing happened where I was like really trusting of this really good friend, and she was wonderful to me, and then she left me in the middle of fucking downtown Santa Monica. And fucking ghosted me when we were both drunk at 2 a.m, and then I never spoke to her again after all of this thing. And like there were many times that I had been going out into the world, realizing it wasn't so scary and that people were good, and then getting fucked.
Yeah.
By friends, by some boyfriends, by some guys, by some girls, by some whoever, it doesn't matter. I kept getting played.
Like fucked over.
Fucked over.
Fucked over.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fucked over in a big way. And so every single time, exactly what I would repeatedly, this happened so many times between high school and 2018. This is the short version, but this happened so many times. I got fucked over by a friend or a partner or a human that I trusted. And then where do you go?
You go back.
You go back to mama.
You go
back to mama church.
Everybody knows your name.
Exactly. And so my trajectory in the church was like being thrown out and then reel back in, and then thrown out and then reel back in for whatever circumstance. It was friends, like I said, like it was so many insane motherfucking circumstances in my life. And I think I've said before on the podcast that like I had a bunch of like abusive exes. I did have those, but I also had abusive friends. I also had
abusive friends,
people in my life that I didn't know how to look out for.
Oh, and
because they told me they loved me, and I believed them.
It's that we were talking about that a minute ago, and that's exactly the danger of that, of going like, oh, I am earnestly putting my life in your hands because I'm taught to love this way. Yeah. I'm taught to not have any walls between me and people I love.
AKA no boundaries.
And like, yeah, it's people out in the world, but the love element being part of it is like, oh, this makes it sacred. This makes it special. Maybe they'll accept this person because I'm accepting this person, and they're telling me that that's what I'm supposed to do because God wants to make people feel like they're accepted. So if I accept this person, they'll feel accepted, and then we are accepting each other, and nobody has any trauma or ulterior motives or inability to emotional immaturity. Like, there's none of that at play. We don't know about any of those things.
I would have loved to know what an ulterior motive is while dating in Los Angeles.
Wow.
That would have been
really good point.
So nice to know about.
That would have been really nice to know. I wouldn't like to know ulterior motive while being raised by my dad.
Say that.
Dating in Los Angeles. For real, though.
Dude, Tindering in Los Angeles.
I was always too asexual for that. That was
heard and seen. Because I think
I'd be like, why though?
I would
just be with no one. Just be with no one is what I thought. I'd be like, just why are you doing that? Just be with no one.
And I would go back and forth.
It's amazing.
And that's when I would delete Tinder. And I would be like, be with no one. Everyone is awful. Everyone is awful. Everyone is awful. Be with no one. And then I'd be like, women.
Ooh,
everyone is awful.
I would
everyone
be
is
like
awful.
women.
Everyone is awful.
I would also do that. I very much had that. Except without the internet, that I'd just be like.
And then I'm like, men. Everyone is awful. Everyone is awful. It's just, this was the ping pong. Yeah. You also had that what? Sorry.
No. I didn't mean to be like, and now I'm talking about me now. I
want to know.
That's just I'm like, hee. That's like how I verbally agree out loud by telling you how I also experienced that. I don't know what that is.
Wait. But can we talk about that for a second, actually?
The verbal agreements.
Can we talk about the verbal agreements and the
verbal assent?
Needing to relate immediately and say, I totally know what you're going through because I know this, I know this, I know this. I don't know exactly what you're going through because I've never been through that, but I know this. And so can I do this?
Forced hyper empathy. And that's that again, okay, that's from that. I perceive that as being part of like what we talked about with Mike of like the dangling the invisible carrot on a stick and being like, hey, special thing me is hard to please. And like, maybe I won't tell you, I won't give you any clues, but maybe if you do the right thing, I'll love you. Maybe God will love you.
And maybe I won't shit on you and call you a slut. But that...
Oh, no promises there.
But that was the dream, though.
Oh, I know. That's what I mean
exactly of like... I do that all the time, too. Of like, this is the only way I know how to engage with what you're saying. This is the only way I know how to show you that you are seen and heard is by talking about myself. I don't know why, and I'm sorry, but I want to tell you that. I feel shame
for that.
I do too.
But I also feel shame if I don't do it.
Me.
So it's like what's that about?
What is that, man? What is that?
Ooh, it's getting a little warm in here for me now.
Yeah. I'm in a tank top and I'm like, that's stress sweat.
Jesus.
Yeah, okay, so sorry. I did derail.
No, don't be sorry.
I was like,
no,
that is
stop
very
apologizing
much
for derailing a conversation about your life and your experiences and how you're talking about how you feel. Like, we don't need like I get it. I get
the impulse. Know how to do that.
I know, Stasia. Because like I'm talking, okay, like you are someone in my head who my whole life, like I'm 2 years older than you, but my whole life I have perceived you as the more outgoing, the more confident, the more oh my God, I don't know.
Brassy.
No, all the words that are coming into my head are like better, more desirable, like more talented. Like all of these thoughts that I was like, whoa, where did that come from?
Those thoughts, where did they come from?
Where did they go?
They come from people who pit us against each other our whole lives.
Who pitted us against each other our entire lives because they couldn't handle, our friendship was dangerous to them because they didn't want us doing exactly what we're doing right now.
This.
We're just talking about it. and feeling about it and being honest
Yeah.
and acknowledging that what they fed us and sold us and told us about ourselves was bullshit. Like the whole time.
Yeah.
The weird part of it to me was like, it made sense to me that everyone paid attention to you.
Mm.
It made sense to me that you were perceived as this, like, I was seeing you as perceived as like this just like outgoing, loving, incredible talent and like this magical like person. And I was like, yeah, I would have to, like, I don't know. I was like, I get why everyone's paying attention. Like, you're this amazing human being who is a force of nature who can, and I think I think people did see this big bright light that you are. And like, for better or worse,
Sure.
unfortunately, you
Yeah.
know, and like, it's hard to be okay with ourselves, and I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I get there. It's hard to just be like, okay, we're okay and we're okay together. But like, because again, they didn't like that we were together. And so when you and I like get into a really good like swing, or like we're bits back and doing bits back and forth, or
Yeah.
like we've got some good riffs, or we've got a good emotion, like we're having a good deep dig dive into this emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I have this thought of like, wow, like this is the most magical thing I've ever experienced. And oh my God, who's going to open the door and come take her away from me? Who's going to come bust in the door and separate us? Who's going to tell her that she's a flirt and tell me that I'm a show off and too much?
Mm.
And then who's going to separate us? And so, like, even
No,
as we're
I
in,
was thinking about that exact thing today. Like, exactly that. Of like, I don't even remember the.
into adulthood,
Yeah.
that sounds like a kid thing, but that was into adulthood.
Until.
I mean, I was over the 25 hill.
Yeah, I wasn't yet. But I was
Yeah.
24 and you were
Yeah.
26. So into adulthood, we were told these things about each other. And I had the exact same thought today of like, how many times was I told to break my bonds with Leandra and vice versa?
Oof. Yeesh. Yeah.
Which meant cut them off completely.
Yeah, that meant you don't get to love them or feel love towards them and stop. Like your flow, like break your bonds was like sever the flow of emotion.
Sever ties completely.
Yeah, and like you are not allowed to, like, yeah, you can love them, but like give them to God.
But from so far away that they are with God and you are not. Well, not like that, but that you have given them all the way to God and you don't even see
And
them
the
anymore.
people they would say to do this with would be your mom, your dad, your best friend, your
Mhm.
siblings,
Your
your
brother, yeah.
spouse, your neighbor who thinks that that's not what the Bible actually said.
Your
Pretty
cool
sure
neighbor that you were really getting along with, but that all of a sudden, just because they don't go to the church, maybe you can't talk to them anymore.
you really need to break your bonds with this person. I feel like they're really dragging you down a path that is going to derail your destiny, TM. It's pulling you from where you need to be. It's like all these phrases that were used that like controlled your life and mine.
I know better than you about you, and I always will.
And always have and always will. Yeah.
Yeah, and always have and always will. Yeah, absolutely. They cut us off from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The manipulation in, again, like your episode is kind of mega heavy meddling as well. Like that's what we titled Charity's episode, but like it's a thought we keep coming back to because that's what was going on. And like, okay, so Stasia has attended she's been to college. were there any, this is a leading question for those of you, we are not journalists. Clearly, we ramble
We're
much,
also
much,
not in a
much.
courtroom. Like, it's okay.
Oh, Stasia, the courtroom's in here, baby. The
I
courtroom's
know.
up in here.
Put it down.
Judge Judy and executioner are all up in here. Judge Judy and executioner are not in a courtroom. I got scared. Like, I get scared.
I know, me too.
Again, because I'm telling the truth with my best friend, my favorite thing in the world. I'm hearing my best friend tell me about things that I get to ask her these things on the record, and that's like, oh my God, someone's gonna kick in the door. Someone's gonna kick in the door and tell us to stop. And like, I don't know. Maybe that's just, it's just it's my childhood fears projecting into my present. But so Stasia's been to college, and now you've dated your acapella closet dweller, and the closet's a wild place. Having spent a significant amount of my life in there as well, I get it. We do things that are very silly, but so you've separated from this person, and you are going through. You've bounced around. You've had many relationships, and like, some of these people were wonderful and kind, and some of them were outright dirtbags, and it was all a lot. And you were, again, earnestly, like, I want to emphasize the earnestness with which we all entered our relationships. Like, it was this all-in feeling.
Exactly. I was gonna say, I cannot even begin to describe that. I thought everything was a sign from God.
That's really important to say.
To this person.
Yeah.
And that's why I knew how I felt about what I knew about these people.
Yeah.
And then I would go all the fucking way in, because I didn't know another way to do anything. You either love with everything that you have, or you never speak.
Yeah. Like, if you don't love them all the way, and then like somehow convince them that you're also worthy of love, and by proxy, so is your entire cult community.
Whoa! Yeah! Yes. Yep.
It was a hard sell.
To say the least. Oh my God. Yeah. I have exes that are friends to this day who have told me, like, hey man, it's cool that you figured that out. It's cool that you figured out that was a cult, because you brought me there. And all I wanted to do was leave.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you for telling me. And I've had people tell me that in wonderful ways, and I've had people tell me that in really fucked up, demeaning ways of
really,
like, I should have known better. Fuck that. Fuck that. I was born into it. What can I do? Anyway, but like, the people who were like really supportive after, and they were like, hey, I just want you to know, I felt incredibly uncomfortable every single time I came to that place. I was never going to end up there with you.
And this was an unspoken requirement as well, but it was very heavily drilled in of how, if you didn't date someone who was already in the church, you had to go through a rigorous process of scrutiny. What they called, and like, of course we couldn't do this, but like, the way they describe it was dating in the living room is what they would say. And they'd be like, oh yeah, like, you can come be together in front of pastors and around peers so that you can be under human observation at all times. And often that person in our life was Uncle Icky. Come date in the living room at Uncle Icky's. And like,
either there or at Rayan, or at the
Yeah.
church. Like the open was never with your parents. To me, at
Mine
least.
was
That's not how it felt
sometimes.
to me. To me, that's never
Mine
how it
was
felt.
sometimes. They were weird. That was a weird thing with my parents.
I did not have a in front of your parents. I had it in front of the rest of us.
Yeah, it was dating in front of the pastors. Like it was
Yeah.
always designated relationships or pastors, and like
Yeah.
you had to, yeah, it was like put your relationship on display, but don't be too not too much PDA, you know, like don't be too physically affectionate.
And that means standing next to each other too close, man.
Yeah, no, that means literally like if you're sitting on the floor next to this person, if your backs are touching a couch and your shoulders are touching, like, ooh, sparks be flying, and all the pastors are gonna make you feel like shit about it later.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, there, yeah. The whole leave room for the Holy Spirit thing was always funny. Because the old men certainly fucking didn't. When they hugged us and touched our asses.
Yep.
So yeah, like
patted my butt from 5 to 25. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fully. Yep. That made me upset.
Sorry.
Do not be apologizing for telling a thing that was the truth.
That I
it was a reality for both of us. No, it's okay.
Is what I mean.
It is unavoidable. It is.
Yeah, true.
And it's not you, like, it's not you, it's me. So yeah, again, heavy meddling, and like encouraged to allow the meddling.
Yeah.
And then that's leading you into these really unsafe relationships, really unsafe environments, especially around LA.
Yeah.
Like LA in and of itself being a dangerous place for a young, hot, blonde person of any
with all naivete and no actual real world knowledge.
Yeah.
No
tools. Nobody prepared us for the world. Everyone just told us to be scared of the world. And it's like, well, if you just live your life...
Everyone told me, you're just so mature for your age.
No! Now, why do you think that is? Is it because I'm treated like an adult by every adult in my life? I'm a child, and the expectations being put upon me, tiny Anastasia, tiny baby blonde cult princess, and also tiny little frog Leandra. But like...
Leandra! Stop!
I was little frog! That was positive.
You were little jungle queen. You were little, like...
Okay.
Give me my mangoes!
I was feral for mangoes. I just wanted fruit and no shoes and a cup of beans.
Play and have your
dirt.
areolas out.
Shirt off. Like, God. Maybe we'll cut this out, but like boobs were the worst thing that ever happened to me. I hated that whole process. Boobs were the worst thing that ever fucking happened to me. Ugh.
This is what we maybe shouldn't cut, is that I was jealous of that in you.
My boobs?
No. Your feralness.
Oh.
Your ability to, I don't know, tell your mom you don't want to wear a dress. And go climb a tree. And go fucking want to be in the dirt. I'm like, I'm not allowed to want to do that. I
didn't know that was, like, again, that was me. That was little feral me not understand. I thought everyone thought like me. I thought I was not unique at all. And I would, like, it's so weird. I would perceive you and be like, how can I be like that? I'm not that, and I don't understand. How can I be like her more? I can't. I'm not like, I don't move like you do. I don't sing or talk or look or smile like you do. And then it's like, yeah, Leandra, you're fucking autistic. Like,
Leandra. But also, I was being fed things about you.
Oh, yeah. What?
Too.
Yeah, okay, what?
Like, I'm not as connected in as Leandra. I
Jesus
am
Christ.
not as devoted. I will never be as much of an amazing woman of God as Leandra is. I like all of these things that like I was taught to want. And like again, then when they would let you sing, when they would let you sing or prophesy or do whatever or be a part of something that I was not, they would use that against me. Well, your spirit's just not in the right place right now.
Yeah. And like, yeah, the self-reporting was out of fear, but also out of loyalty. And like, it was full commit. Like, we were fully committed to, like, I was fully committed to trying to feel better. I was
Yeah.
fully committed to try
Because
and
that's the
earn
only
their
way we were told
love
to. Yeah. So
and
this is how you can
acceptance.
feel better. Yeah.
And so, and then, yeah, and like, I just think, again, I think about you bouncing from situation to situation, trying to be like, well, if I'm not allowed to feel better in the church, maybe I can feel better outside the church.
Exactly.
And then getting
Maybe
reeled
I could
back in.
feel, yeah, exactly. Because maybe I could feel better outside the church with exactly the tools they taught me. No, not working. Better go back.
Dude, it's like riding a bicycle down a hill that doesn't have a front wheel and no
Yeah,
brakes and like
exactly.
no way to
You're
turn, and it's
just,
actually not a bicycle, it's a fucking like hunk of metal.
and it's on fire. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
actually a wheelbarrow. A wheelbarrow.
Yeah, like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Heard, dude. So speaking of trying to feel better, you started to, as the years went on, you started to get reeled back in, like,
Yeah.
as you've mentioned, right around the time of the cult getting a little kooky, and like the open letters and Shalom's letter and the 360 reviews. And so at that time you were getting hooked.
Yeah, big
Expand on
time.
that.
Yeah, big time getting reeled back in, and it was
Manipulated back in.
and it was and it was the big times because the big guns were brought in.
Yeah,
I
you were getting real affectionate invitations.
Yeah, so around 2017, I feel like I had like um I don't know. I had been devastated too many times by the real world is how I felt.
Heard.
And I think that Uncle Icky must have in some way sensed that because right around the time I was feeling real low and not understanding, is the good thing to stay or is the good thing to cut all ties? Because I'm understanding everything less every day, including
Yeah.
myself and my thoughts and my place in this fucking world.
Like Mike said, you gotta fake some really weird shit to see your friends.
Exactly. Exactly. And I wasn't there yet. I wasn't where he was, but
Yeah.
I definitely was skirting that line. So
Yeah.
then I started connecting with someone in with someone in Uncle Icky's immediate family.
Yeah.
And I loved this person so much, and I still do.
Yeah.
And
Same.
they would text me and say, Uncle Icky really wants you to come over for family dinner. Uncle Icky really, it's just going to be the four of us, and we're just going to be in the house, and we're going to do this, and then me and you can hang out. And I was like, okay, that I've never felt this a part of the family before.
Yeah, the royal family.
The royal family I was promised to since I popped out as Carol's granddaughter.
Since the royal family that you've belonged to your whole life. But you were never allowed to actually belong.
Exactly.
They just owned you.
Yeah, they just owned me and knew everything about my life.
Which is not to say that the friendships in that family weren't real. The problem was Uncle Icky.
Exactly.
Like,
I was going to say, because it wasn't them who owned me, it was Uncle Icky.
It was Uncle Icky, yeah.
It was Uncle Icky and his mother.
And his mother.
She had died by this point, but
yeah.
Yeah. So I was getting big time reeled back in a way that it was like people in my life said things that I didn't understand. Like, be careful going over to Uncle Icky's house all the time.
Holy shit.
I cherished and respected my whole life started telling me things like that I had never heard them say before.
And also, like, why not be more specific in that warning?
Who fucking knows? I do. I know because they were taught to their whole life.
Exactly. But, like, what does that mean? Like, yeah, be careful. Like, what? Don't trip on all those, like, 1 or 2 steps?
Exactly.
You know, like, don't hit your head, don't hit your ass in the door on the way out. Like, what? Be careful.
Because all this person has ever told me before about Uncle Icky is that sometimes they were really mean to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only context I had ever gotten before. Negative context. Yeah. Negative context I had ever gotten before. And so when I hear be careful in my 20s, after all this goddamn time, after all of this time of you knowing me all of my life, and you're just now telling me to maybe be careful at his house? I didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Because what I thought is that I was being so graciously allowed in. What is there to be careful about?
When my immediate, like, interpretation of that from, like, past brain, like, past Leandra would have been like, oh, like, don't drink too much and make a fool of yourself. Don't blow it. Don't ruin it, Leandra. Don't be be careful going over there. Don't blow your shot being around the king or the prince.
That is the only context I had for it too, because I was like, I know they were mean to you because I know Uncle Icky was mean to this person because this person didn't listen to Uncle Icky.
At least give biblical context. Be like, hey, yeah, like, this guy's kind of like David, and I'm getting some Bathsheba vibes from you, Stasia. So, like, I don't know. I hope you're not married, because this guy's gonna enlist your husband in a war and start a battle so that he can kill your husband and then rape you. They did compare Uncle Icky to King David a lot.
A lot.
And now I'm like, oh, I get it.
Oh, is that what you meant the whole time? Oh.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah, so that's where I was in 2017. And then
Be careful.
And then that's it. That's all I got. Be careful.
Unhelpful.
Unhelpful. And there, talk about an Uncle Icky bathrobe story.
Ooh, take us there.
I've had a few of them in my life, and I was young for a lot of them, but I wasn't for this one.
Yuck.
And it was just moments where it was like, God, and it's disgusting shit like this too, of like, oh, he just ripped this massive fart. It's because he loves you so much that you're a part of what's going on here, that he feels so free to make you suffer.
And he wouldn't let his fourth wife fart in front of him.
Nope. And she was the one telling me this.
He'll fart in front of you.
She was the one telling me this. He must feel so comfortable.
Oh, Jesus. God, I feel like you and I were like on his like, I feel like okay, this is a terrible visual, but again, like visualizing to contextualize, like, you know, like those sushi conveyor belts? Like, Uncle Icky had like people that he was viewing on a sushi conveyor belt at all times, and he's like, maybe I'll fart in front of this one today. Ooh, maybe this one will see me stand up in my boxers in a go-to meeting. Oh, maybe this one will get touched. Like, oh, maybe I'll give this one a song. We have a song. This is our song. Oh, maybe you and
this one gets a nickname. Maybe this one gets this nickname. Special treatment. Maybe this one gets and this like, little inside joke that's just between us and no one else will know, and it's our little secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I was.
Shit. That's where I was. Shit. You were in the fox's den.
Fucking for
like you
real.
Were a hen. You were a hen in the den.
Hen in the den. Yeah.
And not to call him a fox or give him that much credit, because like the only reason all of this worked was because his little nepo baby, Prince Icky.
Yeah.
Little cult nepo baby.
Yeah. 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 And okay. So all of that, like if we could take it back to the beginning, the only reason I ended up there again and again and again and again and again is because I was told my worth when I was born. And I was told exactly who I was supposed to be and what it was supposed to look like. And guess what? It's whatever Uncle Icky says. And guess what? He never actually says it to you, though.
He never said it. Yeah.
He will never give you the actual flat out thing. He will make other people do it for him, and he will innuendo his way around everything. So you are kept in the dark. And everyone is keeping his fucking secrets. So even the people trying to protect me can't say more than maybe be careful.
Yeah. Fuck. Well, when you put it that way.
Yeah.
Well said. And like, that's been a long time coming, and I'm glad that's on the fucking record.
Me too.
From you. Like,
me too. It feels good to say what happened.
Yeah, the guy who controls your family, the guy who's technically your mom's boss at the time, is inviting you over, and what he
sometimes
says goes.
He is, sometimes he's not, depending on if he's allowed in the church.
And I think we will have released the Roast of Uncle Icky 360
We will, yeah, I think
at this point. And so, like, if you've listened to that, you know, like,
that sometimes he was there. He wasn't sometimes.
Who this guy is and what he was doing. And, like, Stasia, I'm gonna bring us back to, where was consent in your life? Where was your ability to consent to anything that was happening to you, to any identity that was slapped on you, any expectation that was put on you, any requirement that was demanded of you, any version of yourself that you were forced to put in a closet?
Man.
Like,
when they start telling you you're a slut before you've even kissed a boy.
When that's a dirty word you're not allowed to say.
Yeah.
And you don't know what it means.
Like, yeah. There's a lot I've thought about myself in my life that I am actively fighting with. A lot of perceptions that I just thought were facts about me.
Because nobody ever reinforced anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least nobody in an influential role as an adult in your life.
Yeah, and how much danger that put me in.
Yeah.
In my
inside
life.
And out of the institution.
Because what I didn't say, I was told I was this way. I was told I was like this little flirty little shit my whole life, and that I was too much in one way or another. But, like, what that does to you as a woman is it reinforces the belief that everything that happens to you is your fault.
And the doctrine and dogma did not disagree with that.
Exactly. If you disagree, listen to Girls Turn It Off.
And if you have a copy of Girls Turn It Off, why? Unless you're Scott Barker.
Okay, yeah, true. Okay, true. I hate women.
I was just hearing it.
I was hearing
it in my head.
And, like, Anastasia, you have such a female spirit. Oh, Marilyn hates that.
The woman hating of it all.
I'm so bad. It's my fault.
Oh.
This man just did this thing to me.
What were you wearing? What did you say to him? How close were you standing? Why did you hug him with both arms?
Did you look at him? Did you make eye contact with him? And so he thinks that he can do whatever. Like, it is that easy. Like, it was that easy for me.
Yeah.
It was that easy to make something my fault.
Yeah.
I put my spirit on him. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know when I was doing that. Because I was doing it since I was 5. I guess I was putting my spirit on men since I was 5. So I must still be doing it. And when he touched me, it was my fault.
Fuck. It sounds so preposterous now, but those were the thoughts. Those were our real thoughts. Those were your real thoughts. Yeah. And, like, people think that for years and decades and sometimes their entire lives. And, like, if they don't ever hear otherwise, or if they don't ever get in an environment or encounter people who are actually kind to them instead of holding them to a standard of existence that would mean death for my best friend. You know, like, just like I don't know.
It's not small what they did to us.
And we're not being overly dramatic.
And I, for the record, am not being dramatic.
God, I wish you were that close to the microphone for the entire recording. God damn it.
Yeah. Anastasia not being dramatic last May.
Last May. Yeah, man, you again, I think we talked about this on a previous iteration of our podcast that will remain unreleased.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah. Will definitely remain unreleased. 100% for sure, yes. But what we did talk about was how, and again, maybe this is getting a little personal. Our parents weren't taught how to handle their feelings. They were handed the same tool book that we were, and then like were expected us to follow it to the letter because we're fresh, we're new. We didn't have those 14 years outside of the cult in the world to taint us. We're supposed to be the special ones. We're supposed to be the like, oh God, are you ready? The godly seed.
I wasn't ready, actually. I wasn't ready.
No one was. No one was. That's what they would call cult babies, by the way. Godly seeds.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, you were born of two people who were in this cult. You're a godly seed. And like, yuck. And like, we don't even need to define that. It's just like, we're supposed to be special. Yeah, you can.
You hear it.
Infer. You're right.
Exactly.
So like, we were supposed, so like our parents were handed the same toolkits they were handed the same literature they spent, they listened to the same sermons we did.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand that it was not possible for either of our parents to understand the way we expressed ourselves. Like children are tiny mirrors. And when you're not allowed to look in the mirror, and in fact, it's actually against the rules to look in the mirror. Verboten. You were not allowed to do that. You were not allowed to reflect. The only reflecting you could do would be to,
wait on the Lord.
Well, no, I was going to say like, and then they would use that term, but there were all these crazy metaphors that they would use to be like, this is what it's like, and this is what it's like, and this is what it's like, and it's also like this. And getting rid of your flesh is also like this. And getting rid of that slutty nature is also like this. And getting rid of the desire to smoke cigarettes or drink alcohol or like be gay or like whatever the thing is that makes you the bad person. Like, oh, it's like this. And so one of the ones that they would talk about of like, oh, like the only reflection you can do is waiting on the Lord, but that's like let God put the heat under you because it's a smelting process. And so all of the impurities rise to the top, heavy air quotes here, and then God scoops them off the top. And like, this is all imagery that I lived my life believing and being like, okay, so if I'm bad and it like, that's what they used as the justification for the chastisement. Like that's God turning up the heat on you. Is like, if you're being abused, if you're getting corrected, quote unquote,
then you're falling on the rock.
Then that's you. That's God getting you. That's you getting off easy. Like if you fall on the rock, if you let these people yell at you, that's falling on the rock. Yeah. Well put. Again, like we are revisiting these metaphors in real time with you, listener, as well, because we all tried to forget about it, but it's all in there. And so like, but yeah, like the whole thing of like, allow people to tell you you're bad so that you can know how bad you are, and then God can see how bad you are, and then God can fix you. Like what that's the opposite of how you grow. That's not how you engage with growth and healthy existence at all. You can't just, I don't know. I don't need to get into all that.
No,
But
yeah, but the problem is being told that what is wrong with you is inherent, and the only way that you can fix it is to be corrected by these people that know better, who are God. And
let
also,
God convict
PS,
your
a
heart.
lot of men are God. Men
A lot
are
of
the
men are
authority,
God.
period. Men are the authority, period.
Yeah.
Men are women's authority, period.
In this
And we
structure.
submit to them in this structure.
Yeah.
And now, Anastasia, go out into the real world. So I submit to every man. I be what they need me to be. And let me tell you how many narcissists sniffed that out on me. They could just smell me coming.
Yeah. Like, my best friend would disappear when you were in a relationship, quote unquote,
Yeah.
with someone. Like, I'd be like, oh, she's okay, it's this now. Okay, it's this now. And like, I get it because I did it too.
Mm-hmm.
I would fully just disappear from you and go become another person. And like, but it was hard to witness being like, where's Stasia? Like, you would hide so much of yourself and you would push yourself down, and I'd be like, who's this guy? You, this guy, not the guy, but like, you guy.
Yeah.
This guy.
It was me being somebody else. It was me being
Literally
whatever they needed me to be.
become
Because I
another
was
person.
told, becoming another person, becoming another person, becoming another person. I was master of disguising my whole life through.
Pistachio disguisey throughout the whole cult. Like, and same, but like, dude, you
I was.
You were a master of disguise.
Yeah.
Because I hate that they made you, and everyone made you feel like, including me, that like real you was too dramatic because we all couldn't handle our own goddamn fucking feelings. I'm sorry that we made you feel like you were too much because what was being asked of us was too much.
What was being asked of us was too much. You were made to feel too much, like you were too much all the time too. So many people that are our age, especially and above, were made to feel in some way or another that who they were was too much in some way, and like fuck that entirely.
Like,
to sum
you are
up,
enough.
Fuck that entirely.
You are enough. You are enough, and fuck that.
Yeah, man.
You're not too much. You're not too little. You are enough. You are magic. Like, listener, you too. Like,
yeah.
Unless you're one of these fuckers we're talking about, then go examine your life, and you have the potential to be an amazing human being.
Exactly.
Like,
then go
dude,
find
like,
that magic in yourself, because we buried it, so you probably did too.
You probably did too. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. And this is my, like, I don't think that, like, everybody's going to be like, wow, we listened to those two ranting ladies, and now we're going to stop our new cult operation. We're going to stop asking people for money. I heard Leandra tell me to fuck off, and now I really want to stop.
I would love it if that happened.
I would love it if, like...
Not betting on it. Love it, though.
Not betting on it, but, like, man, wouldn't it be nice if, like, old big daddy moneybags Gary and the beat boops and their ilk all the people still supporting old big daddy moneybags Gary, like, I wish you could all just do something with your life that doesn't involve asking something of other people. Maybe try giving something to other people other than your fucking opinions. Like, I guess I'm a hypocrite if that's kind of what I'm doing here, but like, I don't know.
No,
At least I'm not,
there's a way.
I'm not telling people how to live.
There's a level of looking at yourself that I don't.
Like, go make pottery or something. Like, go fucking find a hobby. Like, go pick up, I don't know.
It's like Mike said,
man. Like,
it's like Mike said, though. I don't feel bad about saying fuck
this
you to these
shit.
people because
they're not changing.
They're not looking at themselves. And you know what? If they do, and if they come back and they're like, I fucked up, then you know what? I will
come be on our podcast.
I was going to say, I would love to talk to you.
Give me the scoop.
Love to hear.
I want to understand
about your life
and your journey of like, dude, if you ever snap out of it, like, would love to hear from you. Even though you royally fucked me and my family, like, I don't know, like, you made me read the Bible 7,000 times, and Jesus said a lot of shit about, like, okay, man, like, yeah, like, turn the other cheek or whatever. Like, I have boundaries now. I'm not going to turn my other cheek. But, like, dude, just, like, fucking, look, if you fucking stop, like, it's like John Oliver offering Clarence Thomas $1 million a year and a fucking RV bus to be like, please resign from the Supreme Court immediately.
Yeah.
I feel like that. I don't have anything to offer. I'd be like, do you want my AirPods? I've got a microphone really cool that I know you have 1,000 of.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, just like, dude, I don't know. I know that's not going to happen. And so we're just going to keep telling our stories. And like, but this shit happened. And the more people who tell their stories and the more people who speak up and the more people who realize that their stories are relatable and important. And like, Stasia, you were like, we were belittling ourselves through a lot of all of this. But like, dude, you talking about yourself and what you remember, and like, I know this is a big deal. I don't know if everyone else knows that this is a big deal, but it's a big fucking deal to me personally. And like, I think,
thank you.
I think, yeah, every time I hear someone tell a story or tell their story or speak their truth, it makes me have more hope. And so thank you for giving me more hope. And like, yeah.
Thank you for asking about me. The other thing that doesn't often happen in our lives is people asking instead of telling.
I feel like I did some telling, but
can't wait to tell us about ourselves in our life before, is what I mean.
In the before times, yeah.
And people never asked us about who we were. People told us about who we were. So thank you for asking about my story and how I feel and who I am. That is precious to me.
I'm glad that you are who you are and feel how you feel and doobie doobie doo.
Doobie doobie doo. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. That means a lot.
Come back next time when we talk about something else or to someone else.
Something.
You'll find out. We gotta leave some mystery.
That's for sure.
Keep your audience guessing? No? Okay. Thank you for listening today. And thank you for supporting Happy to Disappoint. Check out our Instagram and Blue Sky @DisappointCast and our website, happytodisappoint.com.
Thank you, and we treasure your attention.